Ever heard about flow? During my entire career, I've been surprising my colleagues and my managers with my ability to consistently enter a flow state. Recently, I dug into trying to fully understand it and what causes it, and what I've apparently done right. In this video, I will share a couple of things that I learned that hopefully can help you to trigger this marvelous state of mind. Hi everyone, today I here from LeadYourself. I'm helping you to lead your life towards more freedom and more happiness by providing insights and tips on how to improve your life when it comes to time, energy and money. If you're new here and that's something that interests you, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now and don't forget to hit that little bell too. So what is flow? Simply put, it's a state of mind that you can enter given certain conditions and where you experience things like losing track of time, complete concentration and focus, loss of self-consciousness, and being completely absorbed in the task at hand. When you're in a flow state, you tend to be the most productive, and it's sort of a holy grail for people who seek to be highly efficient. But there's one main difference between flow state and the Holy Grail. Flow state can actually be found, or rather achieved. You just have to have the right preconditions and possibly some practice. When I'm in flow, I tend to feel like I'm on the roll or in the zone, and I'm laser focused. I lose myself in what I'm doing to the level where people trying to speak to me might have to repeat themselves several times before I even react. I forget to eat and often completely lose track of time. Sometimes this can last for a very long time. I think the longest session of flow I've had was around 16 hours with only a couple of bio breaks. And I wasn't even tired afterwards. That's one of the signs of flow, that you actually tend to gain energy and feel like you're in a state of euphoria. Most of the time, I need to wind down afterwards. I could never go to sleep directly after being in flow. That simply doesn't happen. The fact that a person who's in a state of flow tends to completely immerse themselves and sort of disappear from this world can also be annoying to other people. So there is a downside, but the big upside is a huge amount of productivity that comes from flow. And I've found that once my coworkers get to know me, they accepted that I was in a productive mode and that they needed to sort of wake me up for lunches and meetings. But enough about me. By now, I'm sure you're curious on how you can actually achieve flow. But first, let me know in the comments if you think you ever experienced flow or not. Many people have experienced flow but don't know how to reproduce it, while others might never have experienced it at all. And there are probably very good reasons which you will learn about next. Science shows that in order to achieve flow, there has to be a balance between the challenge that the task or activity imposes on us and our own level of skill and confidence. There are several models to describe this. The simplest one, I think, is the Quadrant Model. So on the horizontal axis, we have the level of skill of a person, and on the vertical axis, we have the challenge or difficulty of a task or activity. In the upper left, you have a very challenging task but a low level of skill to handle it. This causes stress and anxiety. In the lower left, on the other hand, the task is easy, but the skill is still low. Here you will feel apathy and not really know what to do while not being very inspired to learn either. In the lower right, on the other hand, the task is still easy, but your skill is high. Now you will be bored and feel that the task is beneath you. On the other hand, if the challenge is high and your skill is high, you will be highly engaged, which is a prerequisite for having the chance to achieve flow. The challenge must be inspiring and just right for your skill level. A bit more advanced and nuanced is the Octant Model, which adds a couple of states in between the four we already discussed, but the same requirement still applies. Flow can be achieved only when your skill matches the challenge and the challenge is inspiring enough for you to care. Despite having just the right challenge level, which you can control by setting realistic and inspiring goals for yourself, you also need to be able to get up to speed in the moment, and here's where the little hacks come in. The first thing you must do is to ensure that you will be able to focus without distractions. So put away your phone, find a distraction-free place to work from, and if you're working on a computer, close all windows that don't directly relate to the task at hand. Now, once you achieve flow, distractions won't matter, but before you do, you need peace and quiet. One way to plan your sessions is by the means of time blocking, which you can learn more about in the video from the card above. You also need to have a positive mindset in regards to the task, which means you might have to find things to look forward to and to focus on those things for a short time before you start. You must also have clarity on what to do and why, and you must feel confident that you can achieve it. If not, then you should work on clarifying things first. Once you're sure that your conditions are met so far, when you actually start, you can use something like setting a focus timer, which is sometimes called the Pomodoro technique. I'll talk about this in a separate video, but essentially what happens is that you put some urgency on your mind, which forces you to get started right away. You might also want to consider having a startup sequence. To give you an example, when I sit down to write, I have a couple of paragraphs that I always start out writing. That way I know exactly what to write and don't get stuck in writer's block at the start. And I found that once I have written those paragraphs, my fingers are up to speed and eager to write more, and I tend to just write. When I discovered that I did this, I realized it didn't just apply to writing. When filming videos, I always start with a couple of test clips. This gets me used to talking to the camera and gives me energy. You would not want to hear me speaking during the first few sentences I say during that warm-up. And yes, warm-up, that's what it is. It exists in sports, singing, and many other activities too. And it really helps. Having this sort of getting started activity eliminates every initial confusion about what to do, as you will essentially always do the same thing. So the takeaways that I want you to remember and apply is to first ensure that you have an appropriate challenge and are able to work without distractions. Then use a warm-up routine that will get you going, and possibly apply something like the Pomodoro technique on top of this. Once you have achieved flow once, it will get easier to do it again, so it might take some practice. And finally, you will find that you sort of become addicted to the flow state. When in flow, the brain releases large amounts of dopamine, which is a pleasure chemical commonly associated with addictions. But putting yourself into flow state is a way more natural and positive addiction than doing drugs or something like that. But it has the same type of effect on our reward system. This is part of the reason that entering flow becomes easier each time, because your brain remembers being there and will want to go there again. With that, I'll be wrapping up this video. I really hope you learned something valuable and that you will be able to achieve flow using these tips. Let me know in the comments how it goes. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up by hitting the like button and subscribe and hit the bell for more videos like this. Now, thanks for watching. I see you next week. Bye!